We heard a child say goodbye in the dark right between us, except there was no child in the house. I've lived in 4 different houses I'd call haunted, but the third one genuinely terrified me. I was about 16 then, living with my mom and my stepdad in a tiny older home that had been moved from somewhere else years before. It was a 1-story house where you could stand in the kitchen and see nearly every other room. Low ceilings, narrow hallways, and creaky floors made the whole place feel cramped and thin-boned. At first, the strange stuff was small enough to ignore. The doorknob to my bedroom started with a little rattle. Then one night it began shaking violently, like someone was twisting it hard enough to rip the door from its frame. It kept going for 30 seconds, stopped, and came back again. I tried to blame trains or trucks, but there were no tracks nearby and I couldn't hear engines. Just an impossible silence except for that frantic knocking. Because I didn't know my stepdad well, I assumed at first it might be him trying to get in. Out of paranoia, I left the door unlocked a few nights to test it. If it was him, I'd catch him. But the knob rattled even when unlocked. Day or night, as long as the door was shut, it would start pulling and twisting as if something outside needed in. I even took the knob off and slept with the door wide open for a while. That felt safer. Only in the way burying your head under a blanket feels safe. Then the small things escalated. I'd get up at night, I've always been a bad sleeper, to get a snack, and the hallway to the kitchen always felt too dark no matter how many lights I left on. I began hearing footsteps behind me where nobody was. Once, while standing at the fridge, I felt a tug at the hem of my shirt like a child trying to get my attention. I spun around expecting my sister, but the hall was empty. We didn't have kids. My younger sister lived with our dad in another town. My other sister hardly left her room, so who was tugging at me? The worst moment came on a winter morning around 6 a.m., still pitch black outside. I was on the living room floor wrapped in a blanket watching TV, getting ready for school. My stepdad was asleep in the back and my mom was at the front door, dressed for work. She opened the door, turned and said, "Bye, honey." Right then, clear as daylight and right between us, a tiny voice chirped, "Goodbye." We both froze. It wasn't muffled or distant. It sounded like a little girl standing beside us. My mom's face drained of color. I screamed. My stepdad came running from the back, asking what happened. My mom told him exactly what she'd heard. Some little girl just said goodbye to us. He went from confused to serious in a heartbeat. My mom grabbed her keys and left without waiting for an explanation. That instant of shared horror never left me. Later that month, our neighbor came over furious, accusing us of letting our little girl play outside at night. My mom was baffled. "What little girl?" the neighbor snapped. She said she'd seen her several times every night, laughing and swinging on the rope swing tied to our backyard tree. But there was no little girl. My younger sister lived hours away. Still, the neighbor insisted the child sat on that rope all night, swinging and laughing. After that, we stopped using the backyard altogether. My aunt, who works for the city, started digging into the house's history and discovered it had been relocated to our lot. No one could say where it originally stood. The house was very old, likely carrying decades of stories with it. Maybe something came with the structure when it was moved. We moved out soon after. I try to tell myself stress or teenage imagination explains it all, but I know what I heard, and so did my mom. Sometimes when I drive by the old house to visit family, I slow down and look. The tree and rope are still there. The swing never moves when I drive past. But I can't stop seeing the image of a small silhouette on that rope at night,